I want to start with a video by Diaphone. Top 10 skills that separate the top players from the rest. Pretty interesting topic. I think this video did pretty well too. So I want to see what he says, because actually when Street Fighter 6 came out, I asked how many people. I think 4 people. I think it was Punk, Kizzy, Idom. Oh, I think I asked Smug and he did not reply to my DM. So instead I put something in there and I was like, this is what I learned for playing the game for like a week. And they gave some pretty interesting answers, kind of like very different answers. Check that video out if you want. It's kind of old at this point, like a year old, but I want to see the difference, right? Because I think the type of stuff I would say and maybe the type of stuff he would say would be different than it depends on the type of player, if they're analytical or like they kind of do it by feel and just a shit ton of experience.
If you've ever seen a top player like Justin Wong or Daigo Umehara on stream, you might also hear that they have strong fundamentals. I agree, but what does that even mean? And how do they even get these fundamentals in the first place? For example, Justin is known for his ability to be patient, not crack, and wait for the right timing.
You want to know what's fucking hilarious about this clip that he uses here?
For example, Justin is known for his ability to be patient, not crack, and...
Okay. I watched the Evo FGC. There's like Justin Wong has a matches that made me. And he was like, yeah, I was literally just mashing at hit stun. Like, from old games, because it's hard to combo in old games. I also did a unfair attacks for Justin. And, like, all the shit he picked was old games. This thing is fast and leads to a combo if it hits you. So, like, at the end, I was like, dude, like, the thing I learned about old games from you is that it just continues to reinforce my theory about games where you can combo off everything and games where you can't combo off everything, right?
We need to define all the skills that make up fundamentals. I broke it down into 10 different categories along with players.
Ooh, 10 different categories.
To exemplify each.
Interesting. Let's see where he goes with this. And he has players assigned with it. I think I mentioned this on stream, but I basically think especially international, once you talk about international, like I'm talking about people who have like multiple top 8s at Evo, multi-time winning Evo players, people who've gotten top 8 in multiple fighting games at Evo, especially the very small group of people who have that, and also top 8 at Evo in fighting games by different companies, right? So I think those players, they all have like a quirk, like in My Hero. Everyone has like a quirk, a thingy about them. That's been like my perspective. So I'm kind of interested in who he's going to assign for each one.
And we'll start with the first skill, reactions. Now, I think there's a lot of different ways to define the skill. The first person I think of this that exemplifies reactions is Xiao Hai. Now, I've personally...
he might use a lot of Street Fighter actually for this too. Yeah, for reactions, there's neutral. There's also being able to react to stuff on defense, I think. But for Street Fighter, if he's specifically talking about... Because that's what I meant by I wonder who he's going to pick for each one. Because if you're an anime player, or if you came from Dragon Ball, and you hear reactions, you're going to think about like people like Goichi, people who are really hard to open up. Slightly slower things, as opposed to like the neutral aspect, which is really important in Street Fighter. It is also really important in Guilty Gear, to be fair, too. I mean, it's important in all games, to be fair, but it's a very big part of Street Fighter.
And so being able to react to a very, very quick jump with a DP is something that only a few players can do, and Xiao Hai, I think, is easily the most consistent at it. The other person I think of is...
Oh, dive up with KOF. I did not know that.
Is Punk. Punk in Street Fighter 5 kind of evolved the meta because his reactions were just so strong with Karen.
So if you don't know, I don't know if/when... Okay, no, they did fix it, but I don't think they super fixed it. So pretty much like when SF6 came out, the delay was like atrocious. Apparently it was like 6, 7, 8. Was it 8? I think it's 8 frames of delay. Exert is 4 and Launch Drive is 4 and Dragon Ball is 4, but SF6 is fucking 8. So at that time, because I actually played Street Fighter 6 at the beginning, people were like, oh, Karen is theory top tier, but you just like can't hit confirm her good pokes. So like if someone could do it, then she'd be really good. They fix it eventually. I don't know what they brought it down to, but they did fix it at some point. But they fixed it. They did fix it. They lowered it down, I want to say, to like 4 or 5, kind of like standard with like the other games.
You can argue it's like anticipation. You can also argue it's raw reaction time. Take, for example, you're actually testing your reaction.
Ooh, raw reaction. What is this in frames?
And so 178 milliseconds, I reckon...
One trial.
That's probably on the better end.
One trial, not real. Come on, bro. Reaction's actually really important. Wait, I kind of want to let him finish. There's a... how often? Definitely once every fighting game, We have reaction wars, where people argue about what you can react to and what you can't.
So even like, let's say top player has 150 milliseconds, that's almost a 2-frame advantage. And 2 frames can be the difference between something that's reactable and something that's not. Either way, if you're really good at reactions, you're really good at reacting to many different things in the neutral game. Number 2 is kind of the opposite of reactions, which is mental stacking or just being random. I know that's kind of like a derogatory term, being random, but some of the best players are very, very good at being random.
So let's be real. Being random, aka being unpredictable, is important. It unfortunately this is something that's kind of memed, but at least from my experience, if you value my experience, by the way, if you value my experience here, some games let you be more random than other games. So a nice loose kind of rule is that in 1v1 games, generally you have to follow the rules of the game more than tag fighters. So you see far more. You might be like, why tag fighters? Normally the character power is just high, just let them do more stuff. And then you also have assist to worry about, so there's assist coverage for things. And the way it depends on the game, of course, is a lot faster. So there's a lot more like instant. And I'm not talking about even like instant mix. I'm like instant options from neutral or things that are near instant you have to look for. Where if you look at like 1v1, so let's say like the big 3 fighting games right now are Tekken, Street Fighter, and Guilty Gear, right? So Street Fighter is legit like it's not a fast game. Like the characters don't move quickly most of the time. There's explosive stuff like Drive Rush and things you have to check, right? But the characters themselves aren't moving very quickly. So if someone's better than the other person, they can quite literally just check them like by slowly checking them reaction over and over, right? Tekken is definitely a fast game, but things animate, like things are very long, relatively total duration. There's stuff like standing one stuff that's fast, okay? And you're basically playing around the numbers a lot. And again, if you're a better player, you can out footsie people, and someone has to come to you, and you can whip punish things. You're familiar with animations, you know how to interrupt, blah blah blah. Even Guilty Gear, which is a fast game, if you're better than somebody, you can check the other person playing too fast, and then be like, oh, you really did that. Oh, you're minus in neutral, blah blah blah. But that game has aspects of instant choices you have to make in neutral too. Where in team games you're just able to just do things faster and have coverage and things don't go away on hit and like all that stuff.
If you've played fighting games, you've probably ran into opponents where you just can't predict what they're gonna do, and if you can't predict what they're gonna do, it makes it very, very hard to stop. And
this is also why I kind of am the type of player that I am, because I was like, I need to understand why people do what they do and like what to do about stuff.
Now humans are inherently really shitty at being random. This is the reason why rock paper scissors champions exist. This is why terms like forensic accounting exist, because people are bad at making up numbers. This is why Evo Memo 37 exists, because 37 is the most popular number out of 1 to 100. And people that are really good at being random choose their options in a very unpredictable manner. All right, so category number 3 is patience, composure, I guess you could say. It's people that don't crack and wait for the right moment.
It's this match.
So I think of 2 people, Guichi and Justin Wong. They will turn you out.
This is kind of an old story, by the way, but this is like from way back when I started playing. Right when Blaze Blue is like new. So it's like CT. At this point, I'm on my East Coast, definitely Northeast / like, you know, as far south as Maryland, plus like final round. And there's a anime con in Connecticut that I go to that has Blaze Blue, and I have friends who are going, so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play. And it's like half the tournament. It's not a big tournament, by the way. It's like 20 people, but half the tournament's all Capcom people. In that tournament, I figured out how to beat people who are good at fighting games who don't play your game. And it was far more common in the past than today. Today, people don't really do it. Most people kind of stay in their lane because the competition is so high, because so many people play. And the secret, the way you beat them, is you play a character that they have to lap. That was the secret. So I played Justin Wong and Marn with Lychee. That shit was omega free. There was no way. As from their perspective, I'm just spinning and shit. They're like, what the fuck is happening? You call it a way to beat, but I call it bullying. Fair. However, they were trying to collect from the anime side games. Eventually, Capcom people gave up on it. They gave probably around like Persona. I think that's when they kind of like, dude, there's just so fucking random ass dude from New Jersey who fucking plays all these games, and he like tries, because they used to farm. You know, Justin had a Potemkin that would do well at events. Because he's good at a lot of games, you know.
This is one of the skills I feel like is more of an old school skill, especially in games today where it's like every game has their own version of drive rush or dash late or strive. Just, you know, you have a million bullshit ways to get in. But the skill is still very valuable, especially for controlling the clock, for forcing the opponent to come to you and overextending.
Yeah, not just this too, but even understanding the idea when you are and are not advantageous in neutral, and then making choices based off it.
And if you look at Guichi had some of the best defense in Dragon Ball FighterZ. Just being able to stay patient, choose the right options, react to the right things, and not get flustered on defense.
The big secret, I could tell you how to open up Goichi in Dragon Ball FighterZ. It's actually super easy. It's actually really easy when you really look at it. You have to play a character that has a 50-50. There you go. That was the solution. Yeah, it's that simple. Yep. Yeah. That's it. That's all it took. The thing is, he's actually very good at like parsing his attention, I feel like. So there's not a lot of like trickery shit you could do to him, really. So when he plays against teams that they don't win with mix-ups, he's literally just chilling.
I also think of the comebacks Justin has made, like in Ultimate Marvel or in MVC2.
He said his composure, right? Composure, because actually I thought Justin Wong's quirk is that he's just really fucking clutch. Some people are just clutch, like the true aura, like Sonic being really clutch and shit, or like Leffen being clutch. Like some people are just fucking clutch. It pains me a little bit that people think, like they say I'm a known choker, when that's one of my moments where I have to look around my room and look at trophies and stuff, because I don't want to be gaslighted to people be like, you're a fucking choker. I'm like, bro, sometimes shit happens. It'd be like that. It's tournament.
All right, skill number 4 is execution. Now, I think this is the number one skill that new players should focus on.
Not only is this the number one skill that new players should focus on, I also think execution is the number one skill that people who don't play use to judge people, to as an easy judge of like skill. It's also why some of the people who, for lack of a better word, don't really play fighting games, but say certain games are scrubby, wink, 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 they use execution. One of the very common things they use is execution, of like, oh, this is why the game is scrubby now.
You're basically playing a different version of the fighting game,
True.
Right? You're basically playing, can I actually execute what I want to execute, as opposed to a version of the fighting game.
Oh my god,
right?
he's going ham.
Playing, can I actually execute what I...
This is what the fighting... Dude, if this was an anime, though, this would be hype. If this is an anime, you'd be like, oh my god, he's powering up.
Of the fighting
Look at him.
game, right? You're basically playing
what
I want to execute as opposed to the actual fighting game. There used to be combos that only one person could do, like
he's gonna say it, Sako
or FAB, where you could tell their playstyle because they were the only person that would go for this particular combo in this situation.
Yeah, definitely old school shit. I mean, it still kind of exists today, but like not really. The main thing is that another aspect of execution, and a very important aspect of execution actually, it's actually not how hard the things you're going for is. It's the ability to understand what you can do personally. So this one is pretty important to me because I had to learn it the hard way. All right, here you go. You see this? There you go. Can you see? It's kind of blurry. Okay, there you go. 2010. This is 2010. Pretty much, this is from my first Evo. It's from 2010, and I was playing Multi-Blood Actress again, and the number one reason I did not win that is because I was extremely stubborn, and I was going for quite difficult combos. Very, very difficult combos. But the reward for doing it is a shit ton of damage. Basically, you could two-touch people, which is unheard of in Multi, kind of. Right now, it's not super unheard of, but overall, Multi-Blood is very, very rare that you two-touch, especially like normal characters, so not like the low HP characters, like normal ass characters, you could two-touch them because the combo does a shit ton of damage and it leads to an unblockable setup. And if they live for some reason, then it loops into itself if you could do it. So I was very, very, very stubborn about going for these things, and in grand finals I was just omega nervous. We were both nervous. If you watch it, it's a terrible grand finals, actually. It's a really, really bad, sloppy, like clearly both players are super nervous and haven't played in this type of situation. The difference was he was doing BC air throw, and honestly still dropping BC air throw, but he would hit it sometimes, and I was doing like these fucking super fancy combos. And we talked after. He was like, yeah, I was really surprised he kept fucking doing these combos. The worst part is in the archive. I'm pretty sure in the archive you could hear someone say, do tournament combos, like screaming, do tournament combos. Couldn't hear him, but screaming, do a tournament combo. I just drop combos over and over and over and over.
Early game combo to LK. Oh, tries to bait out there, doesn't quite get it.
So this Evo medal is my reminder to not be stupid and just do combos that I can do. Just do the combo that I can do, and that's a huge part of tournaments, is doing the thing you want to do when you do it. Daibon said that, by the way. He said that it's about doing the thing that you need to do in that situation. But so it's not just about the moves you want, but it's the combos you want, the situations you want. Like, it has to happen when you want that to happen.
All right, skill number 5 is game knowledge. This is weird because a lot of people think of game knowledge as like how much you've actually played the game, and that's not stuff that really transfers over. I'm thinking more of players that can use the game knowledge and leverage it to play as optimally as possible.
That's your boy, by the way. That's this by the way, I think winning this way is pretty hard, but it's like consistent. There's always a top player of a game who's like, oh, they study the game and that's why they're good at the game.
The reason I think this is a fundamental skill is because being able to extract data from a game and use it to inform your decisions correctly is actually a skill a lot of players aren't as good as you might think. They mostly play on instinct, or they do what feels right in the moment. But I feel like people that are really good at this skill have a better understanding of risk reward and what would actually work, and can exploit it against their opponent.
By the way, it's really hard to win that way. That's the main reason why people don't do that. It's the main reason why people don't do that. It's very hard and it takes a long time. It takes a long time. So what you end up seeing is that there's some people that hit the ground running really fast. So I mean, it's kind of like with TCGs, right? When a new game comes out, there's always some mid dispenser that's like pretty easy, fundies based, that everyone's like, this shit is stupid. There usually ends up being somebody that goes, okay, there's these things and these things are good. Does that mean that this thing is good? And they pick that, and then you see what happens. So either it's great or it's not good. This is also how people are able to figure out DLC characters pretty quickly, because you learn the game, and then DLC characters keep coming out. You start being like, all right, these are the things that are good at the game. These are the things that like help, but with blah 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 blah. New character comes out. You test them for like a week or two and be like, oh, can they do this? Can they do that? Can they do that? Can they do that? If they could do many of these things, they're probably good. If they can't, they're probably bad.
The skill number 6 is, I don't know, it's like innovation. Basically, someone that you think of like as a lab monster or a tech monster. This is a legitimate skill that is very, very important. But even just finding the tech on Twitter and then sifting through what's actually useful and what's not, and then developing the meta based on that stuff, that's a skill in itself. I like to think of these players as also like the people that can find the cheap shit ASAP.
Two separate things. I actually think that's two separate things. Being able to find something good fast is different than being able to like look at the chessboard of characters and be like, like there's this stuff is good. Isn't this something good that people are doing? I think those are actually two separate skills. Being able to figure out something good fast is different than I think innovating based off existing things and stuff.
And Hotashi from Guilty Gear is one where everyone played Nago in a very like methodical way, and a very I'm gonna abuse the best options way. And Hotashi, you have this like completely mental stack, completely super fast pace. I'm a blood rage in your face at the wall, doing all this crazy stuff.
What's funny, so in my head, Hotashi's quirk is that he how do I put this to bed? Basically in my head, Hotashi just does what he wants to do in the moment, kinda. So like he won't follow the rules. Like he will just pick some shit sometimes just because he fucking feels like doing it. So if he has a character that is good at that, then he's probably gonna succeed. If he doesn't, then he's probably not gonna perform that well. So that's usually like my big note about fighting him.
Like, unlike the lab monster, this stuff wasn't really optimal. Right? No one to this day is really doing blood rage setups like Hotashi is. But because this was so unique,
you gotta call cap on that one. You gotta call cap on that one. There are definitely people who be popping on purpose. It's not it when When he started doing that, though, it was uncommon. Now it's far more common.
All right, so skill number 8 is, I'd say, the adaptation.
Yes.
This is a very obvious one. It's the ability to overcome your opponent as
Using the fucking the Breath of the Wild robot fighting music.
you get
I hear
more
you.
information.
I see you.
Now, Daigo is like famously known for being like impossible to beat in the first
I call him Batman in Japan.
to 10 set because his adaptation is just that good. I also think of these players as ones that have a very diverse flow chart. And what this means is that you're playing your opponent and your opponent exhausts all their options. They use all their tech and you still have many tricks left in the bag.
Okay, real talk. Dive on talk about shit characters, bro. So, for some characters, you don't run out of flowchart. I know what he's saying. I just think it's funny. Like some of the characters I be playing, I don't run out of flowchart. I'm like, bro, this shit is OD. I'm just gonna keep doing it.
All right, the last two are around mental. I actually think your mental game is very, very important for
Agree.
fighting games. That's something that transfers over very well. So I couldn't just keep it into one. So I split up into two. And I think the first is your clutch factor. Now, I think it's easier to come up with examples of people that choke, unfortunately, right? I'm not gonna name no names, but think of the amount of people that constantly get second or third place and they feel like they're cursed. But there's also people.
You shouldn't feel like a curse. Keep trying. That's all. All we can do is keep it pushing. It's fine. That's you're listening to people too much. You just gotta keep pushing.
Conversely, that win the vast majority of time, they're put in these clutch situations. I also feel like there are players that have a disproportionate win rate when it comes to critical sets. Think getting into top 8 of a major or top 6 if you're Evo because they have to show ads, or winning the grand finals of a tournament. All right, I think the last one is like work ethic or grit. I don't know what you might call it.
Hey,
but
it's me.
It's like
I'm in the video.
power to keep persevering. Like fighting games are hard, right? And it's very easy to get discouraged. It's very easy to grind out
Anime
a lot of
music.
hours, go to a tournament, get washed, and be like, "Oh, this isn't for me." Like, "Oh no, what was me?" Or like you play a new game and then you don't do as well as you want. And you're like, "All right, well, this game's trash."
People are just never gonna let Tiger Power live this down. Like for Viking versus HC, so he's up on me in sets in tournament. He beat me in 2 sets. I beat him 1 set, right? But it's because it's a bikehead. Like, you lost a bikehead. You gotta hold that.
I see a ton of that on Twitter, and I think these are the players that have the power to keep persevering through difficulties or adversities.
Yeah.
Right? The people that have the ability to sink tons of hours in the game and have a positive mindset.
Yeah, hold that.
Just keep doing that.
Yeah.
I think Brian that's a really good example of this. Being able to do content creation, have a job, and compete at a high level. I think it's also how like having a positive mindset. Now, like that's kind of hard to tell, like, you know, the mindset people are in, but be able to like not beat yourself up and take the right things from a loss, I think it is very, very important as well.
It's about the journey and reflecting and being really honest with yourself and stuff. That's how you're able to keep going. That's how, like, it's for example, you know, switching to May, I see it less than when I switch to bike end, but there's already a lot of like, oh, you should just stick it out with bike end, or you'll do better at bike end, just hold on, like the shit that people say when you switch characters, or oh, I hope you do worse if you're new main, or I hope you lose to somebody who plays your old main shit. I'm just like, yeah, whatever, bro. Like, this is not my first rodeo with switching. It's just all part of the process. Trust the process. But it's kind of like stocks, right? You're diversifying your portfolio by having like Baiken and Aba and May, and like, you know, it's like diversifying your portfolio a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like people just have different skills they're better at and worse at. And I think the first step to getting better fundamentals is being able to figure out where you're strong at and where you're weaker at, right? And the areas you're weaker at are going to be easier to improve upon.
Depends. It depends on it, but I think he's right. For example, stuff like game knowledge, execution, labbing, I think are all pretty easy to improve at. Some stuff I think it's just like uniqueness. I think is just bait. I'm just like, nah. I think that ties into something else. Reactions, I think probably you have hard cap. You have a hard cap physically. It would be pretty it's possible to improve, but I think it's pretty difficult to improve. It also depends on the type of game you're playing. Some of these are like changing yourself as an actual person, like the last two, mentality and grit. I think that involves you need to change yourself as a person to improve that. It's not like a lot of like in-game practice,
right? Because improving upon the stuff you're already really, really cracked on, you're just going to get diminishing returns. And same thing with mental and grit. I honestly think, you know, 2016 Diaphone did not take care of their health very well. I'm gonna keep it real. And so I think a lot of that was hitting the gym, focusing on diet, focusing
relatable, bro. Preach.
on lifestyle, right?
Preach. Relatable. So I was kind of the same. Like in 2015, when I started thinking about like, oh, fighting games are getting kind of big, and like maybe esports are gonna be a thing and shit like that. I actually was very worried about my back. I was worried about like I would have like back pain and stuff. That's why I started going to the gym originally. And also, there's a set. It's really early to excerpt, but there was a set where I watched the stream like after, and I was like, "Is that what I look like?" And I was upset. So those are the reasons why I went to the gym originally. I was just very upset with the way I looked on camera. So I was like, okay, nah. But I think mental is a thing for a lot of people, no? Like, I think I made this point before, but a lot of people who get, at least from my experience in the FGC, many people, not saying everybody, but many people are not from like a competitive background from when they were like a kid or something, so they didn't learn how to like win and lose and stuff. So I imagine a lot of people probably have mentality problems early on. I had a terrible, absolutely awful mental mental in the past. It took me years to actually watch matches of me losing a tournament. I used to not watch matches of me losing a tournament for 6 months plus. The Persona Evo, I didn't watch that loss for like 6 or 7 months or something. I don't think it was until I decided to not quit fighting games, I think, right? Yeah. So from 2008 to 2014, I could not watch myself lose matches in tournament very easily. Could not do that. Awful mental. Used to also have a very negative self-talk while playing too. Sometimes I get memed. People like will post pictures of like, oh man, like LK's going through it. But it's mostly like I'm not actually thinking anything. I'm kind of just taking a deep breath and being like, relax. If I said something negative to myself, I'm like, you could talk shit about yourself later at the bar. Right now, you gotta lock in, little bro, and like shit like that. A friend of mine, I thought this advice was cap, but it turned out to be true. If you just tell yourself to not talk shit about yourself, eventually you just stop. Eventually. So it took a while. It took a lot of work. Probably right now, I would say my mental in the past was like a 2 or 3. But now it's probably like a 7.
So like, you know, for like mental and like being able to like deal with clutch situations, there's a lot of books on the topic, right? Sports psychology is a very important thing. Sports athletes that get paid much more money than esports athletes focus on sports psychology.
Yeah, I also did that too. I read a couple books. The one that if you're from Super Smash Brothers Melee for the Nintendo GameCube, there's there's 2 books that people have definitely told you to read. There's The Inner Game of Tennis, and there's I think it's by David Serlin, Play to Win. So that's actually the first book I ever read about competition was by David Serlin, Play to Win. Honestly, it's kind of like this video, I guess, low key. It's the same type of thing. Like Serlin was like, this is what's important to be good, and then he references a player. Kind of funny how like it's similar. Do you guys want to also a thing that I do is I think I mentioned I have a Discord where I'm the only person, right? I'm the only person in the Discord, and I like just put my notes in there, the shit I'm trying, separate categories by character and game and stuff. But I have a motivation channel, sometimes for tournaments, sometimes just like when I'm chilling. And the thing I've been using. Do you want to know what I've been watching? You may or may not have seen this. This is actually the Nike 2024 Olympics ad. Okay, if you have seen this, you might be like, okay, you're fucking omega locked in, huh? If this is the shit you're watching right now. If you have not seen this, this is by far the most watched Olympic ad. Like by far, like more views than all the others combined on YouTube. If you've watched this stream, you probably heard something in this ad that I literally be saying. Or if you've been near me at a tournament, you have heard me say,
I think I'm better than everyone else.
You've definitely heard me scream, I'm fucking better. You've definitely, especially if you've been near me during a major, you've probably heard me yell, I'm better than you. You might see this, but in my heart, it's that. in my heart is this right now. I was in stream. I remember that you said before you were gonna quit. You said, why did I do this in the first place? You said to win. And when I heard, yeah. You wanted to compete from that? Oh shit. Yeah, that's from it's kind of a side story. It's from I almost quit fighting games. I was very, very, very close to quitting in 2013. I guess I tell this story every now and then because it doesn't normally come up, but it's mildly relevant. It's tied to mentality too. I just was very unhappy because like that year is probably straight up my best performing year in fighting games, period. Like, it's not that I didn't win stuff after or be like good with a character on a national stage or anything like that after. I only really have one actual fumble the whole year. Every other big event, it's like I either win it or get second. And I was just really sad that year because also this is when social media is very, I'd say we're in the full swing of like Twitter and Twitch. I think it's called Twitch by then too, and then like Reddit and Twitter and stuff, as opposed to like, oh, we're just talking on Dustloop and shit. Persona is the Street Fighter 4 of anime games, so it's a big game for anime community. And I was just really upset because I was like, man, you know, like I'm performing really well, I'm winning stuff, or I'm getting second, and like I'm just getting shit on no matter what. And then lead up to Evo, and then people tell me I should have forfeit losers finals and all this shit. And I was just like, dude, what was the point? What was the point? And I was going through it. Even though I was still competing, I was really going through it. I was like, there's no fucking point. Like, no one's here for me. I'm just fucking traveling alone to get booed all the time. This shit sucks. And then that December at NEC, at a Big E tournament, NEC, I basically am just like sitting around and like talking with a couple people. And I'm just like, you know what, man? Why am I so mad that people say shit? And then I was kind of like, did I start fighting games to make friends? Did I start fighting games for people to like me because I'm good at the game? No, I didn't start any of it because of that. I did it because I remembered the me 15 years old at MLG where I went 1 and 2 at my first tournament. Unlike, you know, the sexy stories are like someone who comes out of nowhere and wins something huge, right? But I don't have like a cool story. I just went to a tournament and I got shit on. And then the only difference is after I left that tournament, I remember being in the car. I was 15. I want to say, this is Melee also. This is Melee, and this is before, I mean, MLG is streaming, but it's not like I knew about the fucking streams. So it's like, I've never seen actual high level dash dancing, wave dashing, any fucking advanced tech until that day, right? And I went 1 and 2, not 0 and 2. I went 1 and 2, okay? So I remember sitting in the car, and I'm like, none of these motherfuckers are smarter than me, bro. They just know shit about the game that I don't. So if I learn this shit, I beat everybody. That's the thought I had when I started going to tournaments. So once I remembered that, it fixed me. it fixed me. I stopped being sad about that shit. I stopped being sad about that. I was like, nah, I'm worrying about the wrong stuff. It's gonna take a while to fix. You know, like, I don't think, maybe some people can switch it off. It's not like I switched it off immediately. The thing I switched off was I didn't want to stop playing anymore. That was huge, because I was like, dude, I don't even know if I want to fucking do this anymore. So that was huge. And then I was like, okay, so I'm more certain of myself. But then the flip side ended up being that I stopped talking with a shit ton of people. Not like in a mean way, but also not like I had a shit ton of friends. What I mean is like just generally talking to people about fighting games. Where today I'm actually really open about fighting games. So in the last video I uploaded, actually, it's about it's reacting to a Sagem video about getting opinions from like social media and shit, right? And one of the comments, there's a comment from a dude who's like, this only happens in like fighting games and competitive games and stuff like science and stuff. Like, we look to authorities as the voice of reason and and like this is why the things are so crazy in the way they are and stuff. I think that's valid. But I just find that even if I think the thing that someone told me is wrong, based on my knowledge, I still think it's generally worth checking because you never know. They could have just accidentally found something amazing, you know, like that one anti gold burst thing I do with Baiken, right? Of you block the gold burst and punish. I learned that from a Sin player. Most people will not take anything. Most people who play Guilty Gear, they will literally not listen to shit that Sin players say. So old me would have ignored that guy. New me, I was like, this sounds fucking not true, but sure. And then I was like, oh shit, this is real. And the thing that guy forgot is science is about experimentation, right? So actually becoming more open-minded again, more willing to receive ideas has helped. Anyway, talking a lot about mental.
Game knowledge and labbing are both something I was just like kind of good at because like science major, very analytical mind. I think I kind of transferred a lot of those skills to game knowledge and labbing. But honestly, like probably just comes down to spending time in training mode and trying to force yourself to come up with different ideas and force yourself to understand how the game works.
This sounds pretty difficult, but one way to immediately, I'm going to give you a pro tip. One way to immediately get better at labbing is when you play, you should write down like questions you have about what's going on, of like, oh, like why did I get hit by this, or like what is the situation or something, especially if you have the recordings from like online and stuff. And then you take those questions and you go to training mode and you try to answer the questions, right? That's a great way to lab. You'll actually improve a ton. There are people who are good at labbing, for sure. There are people who just like from the ether just come up with ridiculous shit. But that's not most people. Like most good labbers, they're just good at answering questions.
I kind of just made 10 categories that felt right to me, but these aren't like the be-all end-all definition of fundamentals. I'm sure you could further define these skills more. Like I could break this down into 12 categories. I could break this down into, execution, for example. I could break it down to multiple different types of execution. The definition of fundamentals, I think, is very vague because it's very hard to define. And the whole point of this is just to give you like a framework to which to think of things and identify your weak spots so you can improve upon them.
I think it's a good video. There's a lot to talk about, especially because like fundamentals is kind of open-ended, but it's definitely one of the main things that make you good at the genre. Like the genre, not at a game, the genre. So like that's why also when you have this thing of like people get shit on for playing specific characters and stuff in a game, usually the test for that person is can they go to another game. Especially the more polarizing your character is, the harder I think this thing is kind of to overcome. I think that's kind of why some people get shit on for the characters that they play. After watching this video, I concluded I've had no fun.